Before going to drama, please subscribe my channel. Thank you. Jia is a pregnant woman who enters her company. She is welcomed by her husband's brother Xiao and Jia thanks them, and just then, her husband Lin arrives and says the welcome is well-deserved because she is the wife of the president. As they walk inside, Jia remembers how, 3 years ago, her parents had brought a marriage proposal for her sister Xian, but ended up getting Jia married instead. At that time, Lin was very poor and Xian had chosen to marry a rich man named Gu. But later, Xian's life fell apart and she lost her sanity, while Lin's business became very successful. Everyone thought Jia was happy, but in reality, she had suffered a lot at the hands of Xiao and their stepmother. Suddenly, Xian shows up with a knife in her hand. She expresses jealousy toward Jia, asking why Jia's life turned out good while hers was ruined. Xian stabs Jia with a knife. Lin arrives, holds Jia in his arms, and in her last breath, Jia says she hopes she never meets Lin in her next life. Then, Jia's eyes open, and she realizes she's back at the same moment when her parents were planning her marriage with Lin. This time, she remembers everything and realizes she has been reincarnated. Xian also appears and says she wants to marry Lin. Jia becomes suspicious that maybe Xian remembers everything too and knows Lin will become rich in the future. Jia decides to use this situation to her advantage and declares that she will marry Lin. Their parents try to stop Xian and tell her she should marry the wealthy Gu instead, but Xian refuses. Gu is also surprised to see the two sisters fighting over a poor man. Jia's secretary asks why she doesn't just let Xian marry Lin quietly. Jia replies that the timing isn't right yet. Later, Xian comes to Jia asking for an envelope. Jia asks what's in it for her, and Xian replies that it contains 1 million. Jia demands more money, so Xian gives her 6 million more. Jia gives her the envelope and says she can now marry Lin. As Xian leaves, she says that Lin is going to be very rich and Jia will go insane with Gu. In her mind, Jia thinks that this time too, Xian is going to get trapped badly. The wedding day arrives, and people are gossiping that Jia's fiancé, Gu, has gifted her a very expensive dress, while Xian's fiancé, Lin, gave her a very cheap one. Just then, Gu and Lin arrive. Gu comes with a fleet of luxury cars, while Lin arrives alone on a scooter. The weddings of all four take place. The father bids both daughters farewell, blessing them for a happy life. People say Jia's fate has turned golden. She will now become a top lady, while Xian will finally understand the true meaning of poverty. Jia sits in the car with Gu, and Xian rides the scooter with Lin. Xian secretly thinks that in a short time, everyone will bow down before her. Lin takes her to the room, and they begin to get intimate. Xian remembers how in her previous life, on her wedding night with Gu, he had abandoned her, which ruined her entire life. Now she is enjoying the thought that Jia will go through the same misery. Meanwhile, Gu lifts Jia in his arms, carries her into the room, and throws her onto the bed. He bluntly tells her not to expect anything from him. He can only give her his name, not his love. Just then, his secretary arrives and informs him that Yanren is unwell and has called Gu to the hospital. Gu is about to leave, but Jia stops him. She warns that the media is outside, and if they see Gu going to another woman on his wedding night, it will cause a huge scandal. Gu says he doesn't care about Jia's feelings, but Jia informs him that Naren is already at the hospital and he can confirm it by calling. Gu calls and confirms that Jia was right. He is shocked and wonders how Jia knew all this in advance. In truth, Jia remembers everything from her past life. But she tells him that she had a feeling Yanren would pull some stunt, so she had placed her men outside Yanren's apartment. Jia then begins to unbutton Gu's shirt, making the secretary leave the room. Jia says that Gu thinks she's just some ordinary girl, but she's different. Gu pushes her onto the bed and tries to kiss her, But Jia stops him and says she knows he has no feelings for her, so she'll sleep in a separate room. This bruises Gu's ego. Jia thinks to herself, let's see what Gu does now, but she's even more curious about how Xian's night went. Meanwhile, Xian and Lin try to get close, but Lin stops and says he can't go through with it. Xian is confused and wonders if she made some mistake. The next morning, Xian goes to Lin's mother for blessings. She speaks very lovingly to Xian. Xian recalls her past life when she had gone to get blessings from Gu's mother, who had scolded her harshly because of a media scandal. Back in the present, Lin's mother gives Xian some money, and Xian thinks Jia must be facing tons of insults right now. But the opposite happens. Jia had stopped Gu from going out, which impresses Gu's mother greatly. She gives Jia a family heirloom bracelet, telling her that if Gu ever troubles her, she can come straight to her. Gu looks a little confused, but Jia takes him away. The maid asks Gu's mother if she really likes Jia that much. Gu's mom replies that Jia is smart. She saved the family from disgrace last night, and she believes Gu won't be able to stay away from her for long. Gu pulls Jia aside and asks what all that was about. Jia asks if he really wanted her to go and tell his mother that he refused to sleep with her on their wedding night. Gu falls silent. Jia says everything she's doing is for the good of them both. Just then, Yanren shows up and asks Gu why he didn't come to the hospital. Jia intervenes, asking if Yanren really expected Gu to leave his wife on their wedding night to go see her. That would have brought great shame to the family. Yanren gets flustered, and Jia tells them to talk privately and walks away. Meanwhile, Xian is at her parents' home, laughing loudly as she tells her mom that, in this life too, Gu has run away with Yanren. Just then, their dad and Lin walk in. Xian tries to give her dad a gift from Lin, but he refuses it. Mockingly, Xian says he must be waiting for Jia, who won't come now because her husband has left her. Just then, Jia arrives and asks, "Why wouldn't I come? I'm right here." Xian asks why she's alone. Did her husband run away? Jia calmly replies that Gu had some work and will be there shortly. Xian starts laughing, accusing Jia of lying. Then she smugly asks how her first day as a bride went. Did her mother-in-law scold her? Jia replies that quite the opposite happened. Her mother-in-law gave her the family bracelet. Xian is shocked and says, "How's that even possible?" She walks over to Jia and says Gu's mother is horrible and will never accept Jia. Then she claims that the bracelet on Jia's wrist is fake and tries to break it. Jia slaps Xian and demands to know how she dared speak like that about the Gu family. Their parents intervene, saying Jia shouldn't have done that. Xian is her sister. Jia replies that this is sisterly love, and besides, if the bracelet had broken, it would have created a big problem for Xian and her husband, because the Gu family doesn't take insults lightly. Xian screams that it's all a lie and lunges to attack Jia, but just then, Gu arrives and says that if anyone lays a hand on his wife, even if it's his sister-in-law, he won't spare them. Jia goes to Gu lovingly and asks why he was late. Gu smiles, apologizes, and says he'll never leave Jia alone again. Xian is left in shock, wondering why everything is so different this time. She recalls a moment from her past life. After her wedding with Gu, she had asked him to come with her, but he had refused and left with Yanren. When she had raised her hand at Yanren, Gu had pushed her away and warned that if she ever did that again, he'd break her hand. Back in the present, Gu gives gifts to Jia's parents. Jia tells them that, at her request, Gu has given her dad's company a huge project. Her father is overjoyed and declares that Jia is his favorite daughter. Xian watches all this and begins to break down inside. Later, her dad offers Gu a drink, and everyone sits down for dinner. But even at the dining table, all eyes are on Jia and Gu. Gu and Jia were eating together lovingly, but Xian couldn't stand any of it. Gu says that if anyone treats his lovely wife badly, he won't tolerate it. Then he begins to leave with Jia. Dad stops them and says there's no need to take things so seriously. He then tells Xian to apologize to Jia, but Xian refuses. Dad starts scolding her. At that moment, Gu says he's found out that Jia's control over her mother's company has been taken away, and from now on, he won't keep any ties with those people. Dad gets scared and quickly says it's nothing like that. They were just waiting for Jia to grow up, and once she did, they would return the company to her. Now that Gu is with her, they'll give her the company immediately. Xian is shocked and says that Dad was supposed to give that company to her. But Dad slaps her in anger and says she has no status to speak in front of Jia and Gu. Furious, Xian says why isn't Lin giving her any project? She remembers how, in her past life, when everyone was bad-mouthing Jia, Lin had stood up for her in front of everyone. In the present, Lin apologizes to everyone on Xian's behalf. But Xian says there's no need to apologize to anyone, she just needs to believe in herself. She tells Lin he should start a business. Lin says he doesn't have money, but Xian replies that she does and she'll help him. According to her, Lin should solve the chip's problem, and if he does, no one can stop him from reaching the top. Dad says Xian's gone crazy because the world's top companies are investing millions trying to solve that chip's problem. A small developer like Lin can't do it. Jia says she's heard that Lin's family has a very smart professor, but their relationship isn't good. That's why Lin is living such a simple life. Jean says Lin never finished his studies, which is why he's still struggling. Jia says if the professor were on Lin's side, maybe Lin wouldn't be struggling like this today. Xian says Lin shouldn't listen to anyone, he will be the richest man in the future. Jia thinks that'll only happen if the professor helps. In her past life, Jia had waited for 3 days outside the professor's house on her knees just to win him over, but Xian will never be able to do that. Xian and Lin return home. Jean gets angry and asks her why she had to speak like that in front of everyone. Xian says she's fully confident Lin will be on top in the future. Lin looks a bit confused and says the professor is really important. But Xian doesn't know that in the past life, that very professor was the key to Lin's success. Xian says the most important thing is Lin himself. Lin becomes happy that Xian has so much faith in him. He also vows to do everything he can to win the professor's support. Gu and Jia return home. Jia teases him, saying her dear husband gave an amazing performance today. Gu laughs and asks why she's suddenly showing him so much respect. Jia says it's because their plan is working. Gu calls her clever. Then he says that since he helped her get her mom's company back, she now has to tell him everything about the professor. A flashback shows Gu dining with Yanren. Suddenly, Jia shows up. Gu asks why she's there. Jia says he doesn't need to worry, she hasn't come to cling to him. Jia says she knows Gu's company wants to enter the chip business, and for that, they need the professor. She promises to bring the professor to his side. Gu is surprised and asks why she would do that. Jia says whether they want it or not, their lives are connected. If Gu wins, then his wife, Jia, also wins. Hearing this, Yanren's face drops. Jia tells Gu that before she helps him, he'll have to help her with something too. Gu asks what kind of help, and Jia says that tomorrow he'll have to come with her to her house and act like they are madly in love in front of everyone. Gu agrees, and Yanren burns with jealousy. Jia walks away from there. In the present, Gu asks how Jia knew he needed the professor's help. Jia says she saw that over the past year, Gu tried to meet the professor over 100 times, but the professor kept refusing. Fig says Jia has been spying on him. Gu asks how Jia can be so sure the professor will help them. Jia says the one thing the professor needs to be convinced is something only she has her knowledge. Gu becomes suspicious and asks if there's something between Jia and Lin. Jia gets flustered and says there's nothing like that, she just found out through her contacts since Lin is Xian's husband. Gu says she doesn't need to lie. If Xian hadn't given Jia 6 million, Jia would probably have married Lin herself. Jia changes the topic and gets to business. She explains that the professor's mother was Chinese and was kicked out of her home. The professor has been searching for his mother for years. If they can help him find her, the professor will surely support them. Gu immediately calls his team and asks them to start looking for the professor's mother. Then Jia says she'll double Gu's company's value within 3 years. Gu laughs and asks if she's gone crazy. Jia also gives Gu her mom's company. Gu is shocked and asks why she's doing this. Jia thinks about how, in their past life, when Gu was ruined, the only thing left with him was her mother's company. So now, she wants to make sure that company stays safe with Gu. She tells him she believes he can handle the company better than she can. As Jia starts to leave, Gu says he wants her to accompany him to a party as his wife. Jia smiles and agrees. Meanwhile, a maid tells Yan Ran that Gu is taking Jia to the party. Yan Ran becomes furious and says this can't be happening. The maid tries to calm her down, saying that Mr. Gu still loves her, but Yan Ran says she'll destroy Jia. Jia enters her room and finds everything messy. Just then, Gu's mom arrives and says she's giving the villa a new look, and now Jia and Gu will have to share a room. Jia says she'll sleep in the study room, but mom refuses and sends her to Gu's room. Jia enters Gu's room just as he comes out of the shower. Jia teases him, and Gu asks what she's doing there. Jia explains it wasn't her choice, his mom broke all the other rooms. Gu says he knows it's all part of Jia's plan to get closer to him. He moves in to kiss her, but Jia pushes him back and says he thinks too highly of himself. She then gets on the bed and says she just wants to sleep. Gu says none of these tricks will work on him, but then he also gets on the bed. Jia says she thinks he's the one who wants to get close. Gu says she now has full control over him. Jia replies, "All right then, let's sleep together." Gu agrees. Just then, Gu's phone rings. It's Yan Ran calling. Jia laughs and says, "Now what will you do?" "You'll have to go." But Gu says he's not going anywhere and doesn't answer the call. Gu's phone keeps ringing, but he doesn't answer it because he doesn't want Jia to hear anything personal about him and Yan Ran. Jia says if he's not doing anything wrong, then why not answer the call? So, Gu finally picks it up, and on the other side, the maid tells him that Yan Ran has had a heart attack and is in the hospital. Jia says now he has no choice but to go. Gu asks Jia to come along with him, but she refuses and pretends to fall asleep. Gu leaves, but Jia is unable to sleep. She thinks about how, in their past life, she used to stay up all night with Lin. A memory flashes where Jia had brought coffee to Lin while he was working and had fallen asleep from exhaustion. In the present, she wonders what Xin must be doing now. Meanwhile, Xin is laughing loudly while using Lin's phone instead of helping him. Lin tells her to quiet down, but she falls asleep while reading a book, and after a while, Lin also dozes off. In the morning, Lin's mom wakes Xin up and taunts her for still being in bed. Xin says she was helping Lin, but mom says that now they need to earn money since Lin quit his job to start a business. Xin asks why Lin's brother can't do anything, but mom blames everything on Xin and drags her out to work. Xin asks her parents for money, but her dad refuses. Meanwhile, Jia arrives at the party and texts Gu asking why he even invited her if he wasn't going to show up. Gu, still at the hospital, replies that he'll be there shortly. The doctors say Yan Ran is now out of danger. Gu asks the maid to take care of her and starts to leave, but Yan Ran stops him, hugs him, and says she can't live without him. Gu pulls away and says he's only taking care of her because she once saved his life. At the party, the birthday lady orders a cake, and it's delivered by Xin. The lady yells at Xin for being late. Xin snaps back, so the lady slaps her. Xin slaps her right back and says no one can mess with her because her husband will be at the top one day. The lady's daughter pushes Xin and says everyone knows her husband is a loser. Jia watches all this and thinks that now Xin will understand what it feels like to face the world alone. Xin, furious, throws something at Jia, but Gu steps in just in time and protects her. He calls for security, but Xian shouts that if anyone touches her, she won't let it go. Suddenly, the lady's daughter smashes cake into Xian's face and tells the guards to bring both Xian and Jia to their knees. As Xian is screaming, Lin arrives and stands in front of everyone, declaring that no one can treat his wife like this. The lady's daughter says it's Xian's fault for creating a scene. They were only trying to teach her some manners. Xian, furious, says that she won't spare anyone and that everyone who is yelling at her because of Gu should know that Gu himself will soon be ruined. Hearing this, everyone there starts laughing. Lin apologizes to everyone on Xian's behalf. Xian is shocked and asks why he's doing that. He should be teaching them a lesson like he used to do for Jia. She then falls silent, realizing she said something she shouldn't have. Lin is stunned as well and quietly takes her away from there. Outside, Lin asks Xian why she keeps creating problems for him. Xian replies that she just wanted to help him. Lin says he knows everything. Then Xian asks if the professor has agreed to help him. We then see a flashback. Lin had gone to meet the professor, but the professor clearly refused, saying that Lin didn't have anyone influential to support him, so he couldn't help. When Lin tries to offer him money, the professor gets angry and leaves. Back in the present, Lin tells Xian that the professor refused to help. Xian says he doesn't need to worry, he's talented enough to succeed on his own. Lin asks if she can give him some money. Xian agrees, and Lin promises that with her help, he'll reach the top and won't spare anyone who hurts her. Meanwhile, Gu and Jia have returned home. Gu tries to get closer to Jia and asks if she doesn't want to know what happened with Yanran that night. Jia says no and walks away, which makes Gu angry. Jia starts working and says she's trying to become the professor's student so she can win him over too. Then both go to sleep. While sleeping, Jia has dreams of her past life, where Lin had already become successful. Reporters ask him who is behind his success, and he says it's all because of his own hard work. Even when reporters mention the professor's name, he still takes all the credit. Jia and the professor are watching this from a distance. Jia says it's wrong and the truth should be told, but the professor stops her, saying he doesn't need credit, he only wants his invention to help the world. Suddenly, the professor starts coughing up blood. Jia, in her sleep, screams Lin and wakes up. Gu hears her say Lin's name and gets angry. He thinks maybe she's thinking about Lin because Gu didn't try to get close to her. Gu approaches Jia again, but she pushes him off the bed and walks away. A while later, Gu brings water and apologizes. Jia says, "What difference does it make? Our marriage isn't even real, and there's no love between us." Gu says, "I don't know, maybe not yet," and just as he's leaving, Jia accidentally bumps into him and hot water spills on his foot. Jia tries to leave, but Gu stops her and applies medicine to her burn. He says there may not be feelings now, but that doesn't mean they're impossible. Jia silently walks away. The next day at the office, the secretary brings a file for Gu to sign. Gu reviews it and says there's no issue, but just before signing, he asks who gave the file. When the secretary says it was from Jia, Gu immediately signs it. The secretary jokes that it seems like Mr. Gu is starting to have feelings. Gu tells him to be quiet. Then the secretary mentions that they've spoken to the professor. Gu finds out that the professor's mother has been found, so he takes Jia along to meet her. As soon as they get in the car, Jia remembers that before dying, the professor had said that his biggest regret in life was never finding his mother. Thinking about this, Jia starts crying. Gu gets worried and starts apologizing, but Jia says she's not crying because of him, she's crying to say thank you, because he fulfilled the professor's last wish. Then both of them go to meet the professor. The professor is informed that his mother is now safe. He thanks Gu. Jia meets the professor and thinks to herself that this time, she won't let him fall sick and die. Meanwhile, Xian comes to Gu's company to make a delivery and overhears that the professor is now working with Gu. She rushes in and starts shouting at the professor, demanding that he help Lin. She even offers him money. But Gu has her thrown out. Xian angrily says that Gu will be ruined soon. Lin yells at Xian, saying the professor is very important and that nothing is possible without him. He reminds her that in their past life, he never acknowledged anyone's help. Xian apologizes, but Lin firmly says this is the last time. When Xian tries to get close to him again, Lin walks away. Later, Jia and Gu are together. At night, Jia gets a fever. Gu takes care of her, gives her medicine, and for the first time, he realizes he actually feels something for her. He kisses her, and they fall asleep together. In the morning, when Jia wakes up, she remembers a moment from her past life when she was sick and Lin had thrown her out of the room. She starts thinking that maybe Gu isn't that bad after all. Gu wakes up and asks why Jia is looking at him with such loving eyes. Jia gets shy. With Jia's hard work and the professor's help, she brings Gu's company to the top. Xian begins to wonder why Lin isn't becoming successful in this life. She realizes that in their past life, Lin had succeeded because of Jia, but this time, she hasn't done anything herself. In the end, Gu proposes to Jia. Jia asks him if he ever loved Yanran. Gu explains that he didn't love her, he only helped her because she had once saved his life. His real love is Jia. Jia accepts the proposal, and the drama ends on a happy note. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.